Mr. Hannah,
Yes.
we are recording to the cloud and we're live on YouTube. So if you would like to start, please do so.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Zoning Board of Appeal. The meeting, web-based meeting held via Zoom. We start with a roll call. Mr. Rivas,
Present.
Mr. DeLucia,
Present.
Mr. Ribeiro,
Present.
Mr. Sibbett,
Present.
and I'm Joe Hanna, the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeal. Okay, I would like to have a motion to open application 22-20.
Mr. Chairman, a point of order. Are we going to sit Peter DeLucia in place of?
Oh, excuse me, Juan.
I thought he is.
And Mr. Hannah, Pete DeLucia was
Approved.
promoted to
Right.
the board member
Okay.
Tuesday.
Lucky you.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
But thank you,
I-
Juan.
I
appreciate
I
that.
just didn't want to have a repeat of last time.
All right.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You were asking for a motion, Mr. Hannah.
I like to have a motion to open application 22-29, 61 Liberty Street.
I make a motion to open application 22-29, 61 Liberty Street.
Second.
Who's
I'm sorry,
second? Was
Tony.
it second by Ribeiro?
Yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'd like to take a roll call for, I forgot to say that. From now on, we're gonna go one person at a time, and I have to write down the vote for each person. That's okay. So I want to start with Mr. Rivas.
Aye.
Yes or no? Yay.
Yes. Yay.
Mr. DeLucia,
Yay.
Mr. Ribeiro,
Yay.
Mr. Sibbett,
Yes.
and I, yay. Okay. We move to accept the minute from January 12, 2023. Can I have a motion to accept them? I think we have Mr. Rivas, Mr. Sibbett, Mr. Ribeiro, and Mr. DeLucia, and myself.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, we opened up the application for discussion. If I'm not mistaken, Mary, it would have to wait till after we close the application and vote.
I'm sorry, Juan, I really don't know.
We're gonna leave the application open, but we're just gonna accept the minute. Okay, go ahead. We're gonna go with the application.
It's up to you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make sure that we're following Robert's rule of order here. I got the book, but I don't want to start digging through it. It might take too long.
Okay, anybody in representing the applicant for 2229 61 Liberty Street?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Ward Mizuko, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I know Mary said something before about reading letters from the zoning commission and the planning commission. Is that something that you want to do first, or do you want me to proceed? How would you like to do it?
Well, you can proceed first, and then we're gonna read the letters.
Okay, very good. Well, if it's okay then to share the screen, let me pull up a presentation which will help to explain everything. Can everybody see okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so the owner here is Ottrop Investments LLC. And let me zero in on where the property is. The subject property is right here at 61 Liberty Street. This is where the ice arena is. Here's Liberty Street. There are bars and other restaurants in the neighborhood, market, and I think everyone's familiar with this area as a historic Portuguese and Brazilian part of the community. And just by way of history, this was built as a social club back in 1939 and was used as the Sons of Portugal Club until 2001. And then eventually it came to be owned by my client, who is renting to a community, religious community center at this point. So that's the current use of it following, 60 years as the Sons of Portugal Club. The variances that we're requesting are a little bit unusual, a little more complicated than we usually see. One is a variance to section 4B2 because a restaurant would not normally be allowed in the RMF4 zone. A variance to 9C1A, which states that no non-conforming use can be changed into another non-conforming use. And that's essentially what's going on here, going from a social club to a restaurant. Section 3F2 relates to restaurant uses, and that's what allows a restaurant with alcoholic beverages. So if the board sees fit to grant that variance, then we would be allowed to apply to the zoning commission for a special permit to have a restaurant selling alcohol. And section 11B2 says that only properties in the RMF4 zone, which were previously used for commercial uses, are allowed to get variances, a use variance. And I have to thank Sean and the planning staff and Mary for helping me with identifying all the relevant sections that are affected. But the bottom line is the request is to allow the social club to be replaced by a restaurant serving alcoholic beverages. But in order to serve the alcoholic beverages, we would need further approval from the zoning commission. So why are we seeking this variance? Well, the building, as you'll see, is just fully equipped as a restaurant. It has a bar, a full commercial kitchen, a dumbwaiter to carry food and between floors, service counters, service bars, hand washing stations, a pantry on the second floor, bathrooms on all floors, with plenty of indoor seating and outdoor parking. So let's give you a tour here. This is the view from Liberty Street, and that would be the front door. There's a side door over here as well. There's a parking area for 16 cars. It's non-conforming parking. It's been that way for decades. And across the street is open space area owned by the De Silva family, I believe. And if you were to come through the front door, this is what you would find. It has that restaurant look about it. It's the woodwork and the glass work. And there's the front door again. Here's a full bar and seating. Now this is rather informal seating for social club purposes, but it would be nicer seating for a restaurant. As the staff report points out, the amount of parking available would limit seating to no more than 64 seats. And that should not be a problem in this neighborhood because this is a highly pedestrian friendly neighborhood. And we would anticipate that some people would just walk to the restaurant anyway. And of course, it's very convenient to all of downtown, in addition to the Liberty Street community. There's another view of the full bar. And in the back, another service bar there. That's that side door that I pointed out before. Here's the service bar in the back. This is the dumbwaiter. And this is the full commercial kitchen. It was redone not all that many years ago. It's in perfect condition. And it's, way more than any social club would need. It's what you'd find in any restaurant. Another view of the kitchen. Now, upstairs is a place of assembly that the community center uses. This would naturally raise a question about parking. We don't propose to use the upstairs. What the owner wants to do is to use the downstairs where we saw the bar for the exclusive restaurant facility, unless there was like a private function off hours that could be conducted up here, but there couldn't be more than 64 seats being used at any time, whether they're upstairs or downstairs, no more than 64 seats. Otherwise, there would be a zoning violation, and we're well aware of the of that constraint.
So the hardship you have, Mr. Mazuko,
The hardship,
is
Sure.
because being a restaurant for a long time, is that your hardship?
well, it's the fact that the property has been functionally a restaurant since 1939. People come in, they eat, they have drinks, and they go. That's the way it was at the Sons of Portugal. That's largely the way it is for the community center. And a restaurant is really just a more public version of that. With the Sons of Portugal, it was a private club. With a restaurant, it's open to the public. But what goes on inside is really the same. And I have some more information in a moment on the hardship that I think would help. The restrooms on every floor. Let's see. Yeah, here. Oh, and here's the scullery or pantry kitchen on the second floor. There's a lot of community support for this. In a moment, you'll see letters from all of these property owners in favor of the application. And those properties are all the blue dots here. Now, the subject property is right here, and I guess the red arrow should really be over here instead of over here. But here's the subject property, 61 Liberty Street. And all these people nearby have signed letters in support of the application. And here are the letters. Now this, Mary has an earlier version of this PowerPoint presentation. It doesn't have the letters in it. So because there's additional information here, I'll send this to Mary afterwards so she has a complete record.
Thank you.
We're gonna read the letter, but wait 1 second. We gotta discuss this first. You're saying the club was a restaurant since 1939, but the neighborhood was mostly Portuguese people around the club, and the club does not use the restaurant like when it's open for a public restaurant. So therefore, if we vote for this to be a public restaurant, the traffic and the alcohol is gonna make too much unsafe condition for the neighborhood, since it does not have enough parking for to accommodate a restaurant, people to work over there and visitors to come sit down and eat. That's my feeling. It's there is a difference between a club and a public restaurant for, and I leave the floor now for the board members. If anyone have a question after the question, or we can read the letters. We go on to the question, the letter from the zoning board and from the planning board. Mr. Rivas, would you like to read the two?
Yes, that's not a problem.
Excuse me for one moment, please. Ward, would you be able to take your screen down while one is reading, please?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry. And
No,
I'll
thank
go
you.
back and finish up when he's done.
Right, thank you.
All right. I have the letter from the Planning Commission dated February 6, 2023, to Joseph C. Hanna, Chairman, Zoning Board of Appeals, from Arnold E. Finaldi, Jr., Chairman, Planning Commission, for the referral of application 22-29, OTR, Othrop Investments, LLC. At the regular meeting held on February 1st, 2023, the Planning Commission reviewed the above reference use application in accordance with section 11.b.4.a of the zoning regulations and voted to give the application a negative recommendation based for the following reasons. One, this proposal is inconsistent with the Plan of Conservation and Development, POCD, and given the intense nature of a restaurant with the sale of alcoholic beverages and the potential for impacts and intrusion into the residential neighborhood, the proposed use is contrary to the purpose and the intent of the RMF zone. Two, since the C-CBD zone allows restaurants with the sale of alcoholic beverages via special permit, a reasonable zoning alternate exists to granting of variances, so rezoning this lot to C-CBD would be more consistent with the POCD than the issuance of these variances. Three, lastly, these requests raise the following concerns, allowing a more intense non-conforming commercial use in the RMF4 zone, the lack of compliance with the POCD, the question of available parking to support the existing structure, if there really is a valid hardship. Mrs. Hofstadter made a motion to give this a negative recommendation and to attach the planning department staff report to their written recommendation. Mr. Salvain seconded the motion, and it was passed unanimously by voice vote with 5 ayes from Mr. Ciccio, Mrs. Hofstadter, Mr. Salvain, Mr. Haas, and Chairman Finaldi. Am I reading the staff report with this as well?
No, you do not have to read
No,
this.
you don't need the report, just the second letter from the zoning board.
All right. Letter from the zoning board. February 7th, 2023, to Joseph C. Hanna, Chairman, Zoning Board of Appeals, from Theodore J. Haddad Jr., Chairman of Zoning Commission, for referral application 22-29, Arthrop Investments, LLC. At the special meeting held on February 6, 2023, the Zoning Commission reviewed the above reference application for use variance in accordance with section 11.b.4.a of the zoning regulations and voted to give a negative recommendation for the following reasons. One, granting this variance would allow a more intense use of the site than the intent of the zoning regulations allow. Two, the variance application does not meet the hardship conditions set forth in section 11 of the zoning regulations for granting a variance. Three, a variance should not be used to accomplish what is in effect a substantial change in the uses permitted in the zone. Four, rezoning this lot to C-CBD would be more consistent with the plan of conservation and development, then issuing variances. Mr. Malillo made the motion to give this a negative recommendation and to attach the planning department staff report to the written recommendation. Mr. Jowdy seconded the motion, and it was passed with 8 ayes. Mr. David, Mrs. Fay, Mr. Howley, Mrs. Helinski, Mr. Jowdy, Mr. Malillo, Ms. Mejia, and Chairman Haddad, and 1 nay, Mr. Coelho.
Okay, very good. Now, open for questions from the board.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't have a chance to go through all of my slides. Would it be okay for me to share my screen again and go through the rest of the presentation?
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're finished. I'm sorry, I thought you were finished. I don't know.
No, no problem. No problem. Let me just jump back to this. This is how the site is currently used upstairs. This is what the community center occupies on the second floor. And that's in addition to what's on the first floor. So in terms of intensity of use, the restaurant with 64 seats as a maximum would be much less intense than what you see currently. So I'm hoping that the board will feel a little more comfortable about that in light of the actual use of the community center. And same with traffic. Traffic will be less. The other point I wanted to make is that it's when the zoning commission and the planning commission make their recommendations, and even when the planning staff makes its report, they don't see any of this. They didn't have access to these materials. So the zoning board of appeals is the only body that is actually seeing all this information. So I'm hoping that the board will not be too influenced by reports that really didn't have the benefit of all the information that you're seeing. So let me just jump back to the standards of approval. I know you see this all the time, but the hardship, there has to be hardship that's a result of the particular circumstances of the site, not created by the applicant. Well, it was created by the establishment of this as a social club in 1939, decades before we had zoning in Danbury. The hardship differs in kind from hardships imposed by these regs on other properties. Well, again, this is a unique property. It was set up to feed and entertain people, and it's always been that way. We're not relying on a financial loss here. And the variance is the minimum necessary to allow a reasonable use. And it's in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the district because all the neighbors support it. And it won't affect public safety, health safety, or welfare because it will be less intense than what is going on today. What's the hardship? That was the chairman's question, and it's always a good question. Again, the property was constructed and has been used as a social club and community center since 1939. The size and the shape of the property were defined at that time and couldn't be changed. The building has been basically in that configuration all this time. The building contains a commercial kitchen, a bar, the service bar, the dumbwaiter, all the things that you need to serve people food, whether it's a community center, whether it's a private club, or whether it's a public restaurant. And, there was the suggestion in the staff report that maybe this should be changed to the CBD zone, but we don't abut CBD property. It would have to involve other neighboring properties. to have a large enough area to be a CBD district or to connect with the CBD zone along Main Street. So I'm not sure that a zone change is truly a viable option. And the staff report also talks about the plan of conservation and development. And the section on economic development goals, strategies, and actions says that the land use authorities of the city should foster an environment that is supportive of economic development and provides opportunities for the growth and development of businesses in the city. And it also says that attracting people to the downtown area is a major goal. And that is exactly what this would do. So that covers the request. Just jump back to this image. I mean, this is really where the restaurant would be. It would be just no more than 64 seats in this area. And the only opportunity to use the upstairs space would be if this was closed off, totally not in use, and there was a function upstairs, again, with no more than 64 seats. And how many do we have here? We have probably 100 and some odd seats. It looks like it's 10 across and there's at least 10 rows. There's more than 100 seats here. Just,
Can I ask a quick question, Attorney Mizuko?
yes, please.
64 seats, is it a sprinkler system on the above floor?
That's a good question. I don't
I don't think so.
think so, but my client, Mr. Sousa, is online. He might
No,
know.
the building never had sprinkler system, as far as we know. Yeah.
I believe this, it might constitute assembly. You would probably need that on the second, if you had any chairs at all on the second floor, above a certain amount, but that's something for more of the fire marshal to decide, and and yourselves.
There is another exit on the second floor in the middle of the hall, but
Okay.
there's no sprinklers there for sure.
Yeah, this is a totally secondary consideration upstairs. This is space that is there only because it already exists. There's no proposal to make this a central part of the operation. If for no other reason, then there's no full kitchen up here. It has just the little pantry area. Let's see where we saw that. Yeah, that little pantry area is the only thing that serves the second floor. So the upstairs is not really conducive.
It's secondary. I take it, right? More of a if you have a function, an independent function, maybe, or
a birthday or a christening, something like that. People might use the second floor, but it would be unusual. So, so again, the neighbors in general support this, and the hardship all stems from the fact that the property has been in this condition functionally since 1939. And we respectfully request your favorable approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions or to go back to any slides that you might want to see.
I had a question, Mr. Mizuko. Can
Yes, sir.
you repeat what's the use gonna be for a second floor? Is it gonna be, who's gonna run the restaurant downstairs? The owner, the company buying the building?
I'm sorry, I had my speaker's not good and I couldn't quite hear that question, Mr. Hanna. Could you?
I'd like
repeat
to
the-
know who owns the building, who's gonna use the first floor, who's gonna use the second floor, and what's the use for the second floor?
Well, Mr.
Are they gonna be making a special event upstairs and catered by the restaurant downstairs if it's the same people, or can you explain that? Or
Yeah, sure. Here's a good example. You remember the old Outback Steakhouse up at Exit 8? They had a back room, a large back room that was rarely used, but you could have a private event there. So if somebody wanted a private event when the restaurant was closed, like on a Sunday afternoon, they could do that upstairs. But the only reason that we're even mentioning the upstairs is that the space is there. That's not the primary focus. The primary focus is the restaurant downstairs. And Mr. Sousa's company, Atrop Investments, owns the building. And I don't know whether he's decided whether he'd open a restaurant himself or lease it to a restaurant facility. But it would be a restaurant.
Do you know how many employees you'd have if there's only 16 parking spaces?
Yeah, the employee, I don't know the number of employees that the restaurant would need, maybe 4 or 5, I don't know. And that would count toward the 64, so that they might lose a table that way. So it might be 60, 60 patrons and 4 restaurant employees.
I noticed there's no handicap egress and exit out of the building or into the building. And if the second floor is used, there's no handicap access to the second floor.
Yeah, so there is on-grade access in that side door. I think the front door, if you don't mind, I'll just call up the picture again. This is obviously not handicap accessible here, but there is on-grade access at that side door. Let me just show you that. Yeah, you could come in the side door over here with on-grade access. And the lack of handicap access in the second floor is was the reason why it wouldn't be in general use. This is where the activity would be.
Attorney Mizuko,
Sorry.
if you don't mind me, on the second floor, in the middle of the hall, there is a door that leads out to a driveway. The driveway that goes to that door definitely does not meet the inclination that you would need for handicap access. It is an uphill going driveway, but it is a level walkout into that driveway area between the building and the firehouse.
So were you talking about the parking lot picture?
No, the side, as you point to the photo, no, on the second floor.
On the second
Floor venue, yeah. See that side entrance to your right side? Yes, there's a regular door that walks right out, and there's a driveway in between the building and the firehouse.
Okay.
So it wouldn't meet the grade in terms of inclination to meet the slope. It is an exit level with the driveway. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions, and this might be more for Sean than it would be for you, Attorney Mizuko. One of my questions is, if this was to pass, I know that it still has to get a special permit from the zoning commission for the liquor license. But if this was to pass and the liquor permit was not to be granted, I guess, Mr. Mizuko, you could answer this as well, is what is then the intention of the owner to do with the property? And then for Sean, if it does not pass the special permitting from zoning, will this the variances pass still beholden to the property?
Well, if you want me to answer the second one, yeah, the variances will run with land. So once you grant a variance, it's there for good. So
Okay.
it's not going to disappear. And
And
I'll defer that to Attorney Mizuko because he's the learned counsel here, but I believe that that would go with the land.
Yeah, I agree. The variance would go with the land. And I think if I heard the question correctly, if the zoning commission were to deny the special permit, it would be a restaurant, but without alcohol. So people could bring their own alcohol.
So the intention would still be to continue with a restaurant at the property?
It's obviously much harder to operate a restaurant without alcohol. And since the neighborhood has restaurants and bars nearby, I'd like to think that the zoning commission would look favorably upon a special permit. It's very much in character with the neighborhood.
Okay, and then a second question, Sean. I read the staff report from the city. What is it that is the changing the zone, doing a zone change of the area? Is that the alternative for the applicant? Is that what you guys are alluding to, or is there something more to that?
Well, like it's a good
explanation.
question. Yeah, usually this wasn't vetted by the planning and zoning department. They didn't get a chance to pipe in. The applicant just came in for the variance. So the director and the deputy planning people didn't get a chance to meet with the applicant beforehand to discuss it. And you can see from the letters from the commission, they're saying, hey, the zoning commission is the place this belongs. And then Attorney Mizuko addressed that. But yeah, I mean, what essentially the boards are saying and the staff was saying is that, you know, this has a vehicle to change the zone and then would be properly affected by getting a permitted use in that zone instead of allowing this use in a multifamily. And if you could correct me if we're wrong, Attorney Mizuko, this came in as a variance, it didn't come in through planning staff.
Right, it came in as a variance, and actually I did reach out to planning staff at the very beginning, and planning staff was not excited, frankly, about a variance or a zone change, and said that if I wanted to proceed, I'd have to make a choice about which way to go. And my thought was that because of the history of the property, a variance was the better way to go. And also, if we can't, I don't see how we could get a zone change just for this parcel. We'd have to connect it up with, go far enough to connect with CBD property, which involves other property owners who may or may not want to go to CBD. So while it is possible to change the zone, it's a somewhat bigger undertaking that affects the neighborhood in a lot of ways beyond what a variance would do. So I thought that the most minor surgery was the variance, and the zone change would be major surgery.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions from the board?
No,
Anybody in support this application? Anybody in support? Anybody in opposition to this application? Anybody in opposition? I guess everybody happy, so we have a motion to close.
I will let,
Before we close it, if anybody have more question, let's address them now because we can reopen after. The board, all satisfied?
I have a comment, because, I mean, I see the intention of the applicant. I can see where he's addressing that there are restaurants in the vicinity. but I also see how this, being that it's in an RMF floor zone, it's unfortunate that they're on that side of the street. And it makes it difficult to, I believe, you know, help them out in a way that it doesn't negatively affect the, one is the POCD plan, and then two, uh, allowing a variance that to some people may seem more non-conforming than others. Is there, I don't know how the board feels, but either way, if it passes, it passes. But if it was not to pass, is there a way where if it does not pass, could it be voted down in a non-prejudice
Yeah,
way?
you can do that.
Sean, or
You can always say
I-
non-prejudice if they want to come back. You give them the right to
Not-
come back. Whoever make the motion.
I understand where the city's coming from, but it's also conflicting that
But
for me at least, it's
I like to, whoever make a motion, there is something should be said about the use of the second floor. You
Yeah.
Should
I-
not, should
With
not,
the second floor, they're gonna have to be in compliance with the fire marshal. I mean, so
doesn't make a
anything-
difference, fire marshal,
Yeah.
but not be
because
tied up to the rest of it.
64 chairs constitutes
But listen.
assembly, and that's over,
Mr.
with the
Deluca.
restaurant below, they would need to
Mr.
have that.
Delucia, it's the
Yeah.
restaurant saying only good for 64 people, according to the parking. We cannot tie the second floor to the restaurant downstairs, then you need more parking. If you are going to move whatever motion you want to make, that's fine, but I don't like to see the second floor tied up to the first floor. Because who's going to prevent them from putting table upstairs, people park all over the street and nobody can pass by?
I think we're gonna need clear language, and this,
Right. Well,
not
that's-
interchangeable.
That's what I'm saying. Whatever you guys want to do, whatever motion, if it's a motion in favor, we should address, there should be some kind of separation language in a motion between first floor and a second floor use. And if a motion in opposition, there should be without a prejudice, so they can come back if they want to adjust their situation. Whatever you guys like to do.
I agree, Chairman.
Okay. If no more questions from the board or discussion, I'd like to have a motion to close it and open it for voting.
I make a motion to close 22-29, 61 Liberty Street, and go into voting session.
Any second?
Second.
Who seconded?
Oh.
Peter? Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All aye. Okay.
Mr. Hannah, could we have a roll call on that, please?
Excuse me?
Could we have a roll call on that, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's see, where we start. Keep on my paper straight. Mr. Rivas,
or yay.
Mr. Delosha,
Yeah.
Mr. Ribeiro,
Yay.
Mr. Sibbett,
Yes.
and I say yes. Okay. Now we're gonna open for voting. Motion to open and vote.
Oh. I guess I'll make a motion to open application 22-29, 61 Liberty Street for voting session.
Second.
Seconded by,
Yeah, it was Tony. Tony got it.
Tony. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Gotta go back again.
Roll call.
Yeah. Rivas,
Yay.
Delosha,
Yay.
Rivero,
Yay.
Sibbett,
Yes.
Hannah, yes. Okay. Now is the major language come. Who wanna volunteer?
Well, I think, there are a lot of other places down there that are very similar and it's been there forever. The difference between this in a residential zone and what was there before is it's basically going to be every day, not, on events or stuff like that. So I don't know the impact of serving alcohol. Is it going to be a noise issue? Is it going to be, till whatever time of night?
Yeah, of course, because there is a club in West Street for the Ecuadorian over there. The noise can blow the whole building up. They don't have no parking at all, and I don't know how they get that. But anyway,
I do agree. A lot of people would probably walk because it is a very,
yeah, but
walking.
anyway, are you making a motion? Because I
No,
thought
I'm just giving some commentary. I just, it's a tough section of road with people parking all over the place now down there.
okay, we finished the discussion, and now I like to have a motion either way, whatever you want to do it. Because once we close it, we can't discuss it no more.
Well, like I said before, I think we need, clear language on the amount of seats, and if they're interchangeable with upstairs, downstairs, that would, I think make the most sense. We don't want to, obviously they have to go through the different departments. I'm sure they meet the alcohol requirements, 1,500 feet, what have you, from schools, churches. I'm just concerned that if they use the upstairs and the downstairs interchangeably, it could create a hazard,
Mr. DeLucia, we finished the discussion now. I don't know why not all this discussion come up front. We need a motion now, either way, to approve or deny. But if you want more discussion, maybe you have to let them come back, retable it. I don't know what.
Mr. Chairman, just really quickly, you guys are in a closed session right now. You can discuss till the cows come home. Okay, but only you guys can discuss. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We can discuss it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, before I complain, so. All right, go ahead.
Only members, Mr. Chairman. Closed hearing, so just the members can talk as long as they like.
Okay. All right, go ahead, guys. Whoever have a comment, a question, discussion.
I've driven by that building many times over the past many years, and I whenever there's an event going on there, there's always traffic problems. The cars going in and out of that gated lot and causing traffic jams, and there's a fire department right next door, and if there was a fire and there's traffic backed up, they're going to have trouble getting out and getting to and from wherever they have to go. So I don't think there's enough room for parking. And I agree with the other comment is, how are we going to prevent them from using the upstairs as a restaurant?
Okay. Anyone else have a?
Come on, Juan.
No, it's
You're quiet tonight, Juan.
no. Like I said, I stated my comments earlier when the application was open. I understand both sides of the dilemma here. But, you know, it's a difficult, predicament to be in. But I'll let someone else take charge tonight.
Okay,
I'll leave my commentary for after the motion is made.
who's gonna volunteer for that? Mr. Sibbett?
Okay, I make a motion to deny 22 without prejudice, number 2229, 61 Liberty Street, Ward Mizuko Esquire and Charles Lightenauer Esquire, agents for Otrop Investments LLC, RMF 4 zone. Use variance section 4B2 in accordance with 9C1A and 11B2B to allow change in use from one non-conforming use, a club, to another non-conforming use, restaurant serving liquor in the RMF 4 zone. And also section 3F2 allows special permit use in RMF 4 zone. Reasons being, as aforementioned, the traffic safety, getting cars in and out of the parking lot. We have negative referrals from both the planning commission and the zoning commission. And if we were to allow this to go for approvals with zoning, I'm pretty sure the zoning is going to deny it because they've already denied it. And I just think, you know, and we have no way of controlling what's going to be used, you know, the upstairs is going to be used for. It looks like a nice dance hall to me. But that would need more parking.
Okay, any second?
Second.
Second by Tony. Okay, all in favors?
Roll call.
Roll call. Let's go to the list here. Mr. Rivas,
Yay.
Mr. Delosha,
Yay.
Mr. Ribeiro,
Yay.
Mr. Sibbett, he made the
Yes.
motion, yes. Mr. Hannah, I would say yes. Okay, the motion passed with denial. The applicant have right to come back if he can work the situation out. I don't know. So now we move to
The minutes.
The minutes,
the
please.
motion to close.
Thank you all very much. Thank
I'm
you.
reading
Good night.
from the wrong paper here. We move to accept the minute from January 12th, 2023.
I make a motion to accept the minutes to January 12th, 2023.
Second.
Tony motion, seconded by
Peter.
Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll
Aye.
call.
Roll call. Oh boy, this roll call is gonna make more crowd. Mr. Rivas,
Yay.
yay. Mr. Delosha,
Yay.
yay. Mr. Rivero,
Yes.
Mr. Sibbett,
Yes.
Mr. Hannah, yay. Okay. And
I
now,
make a motion to accept the minutes for January 19th, 2023.
Second.
seconded by
Mr. Rivas.
Okay. Let's see here. Mr. Rivas, yay.
Yay.
Mr. Delucia,
Yay.
Mr. Rivero,
Yay.
Excuse me, Mr. Hannah. Mr. Rivera was not at that meeting.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's all right.
okay.
So
Mr. Sibbett,
Yes.
Mr. Hannah, yay. Okay. All right,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
I think we need everybody for that one. No opposition.
Have a good night, guys.
All right, good
care.
night.
Have a good night.
Well, next meeting is February 23rd. Right? Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Good night, everyone.
All right, you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Good night, good night.
Appreciate it.
Good night.
Good night.